I always believe the universe sends warnings before it destroys you. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it pushes, and sometimes it hides the truth in a place you would never think to look. For me, that place was an old wedding album in my aunt's living room. We were planning our future together, talking about moving in, sharing a home, building a life. I trusted every word he said, every dream he painted, every promise he made, until I turned a page in that album. And my heart stopped. There he was, my man, my future, my everything, standing in my aunt's wedding photos, smiling confidently beside her like he belonged there, like he had always been a part of my family long before he ever met me. My fingers trembled as I touched a picture, tracing the outline of his face, the same face I thought I knew so well. But in that moment, he looked like a stranger wearing a familiar mask. I felt my entire body freeze. Why was he in my aunt's wedding? Why didn't he ever tell me? Why did he pretend he had no connection with my family? My aunt was busy sorting through boxes, completely unaware of the storm that was tearing through my chest. "Oh, you found those old photos," she said casually. But I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe, because this wasn't just a coincidence. He never mentioned being at that wedding. He never mentioned knowing my aunt. He never mentioned being connected to my family in any way. And yet here he was, standing inches away from her in a picture that was taken years before I met him. My mind ran through every conversation we ever had, every detail he shared, every detail he hid. Suddenly, all the little moments that once felt cute now felt suspicious. The hesitation when I talked about my aunt, the way he changed the subject whenever I mentioned her, the way he avoided meeting my family. I closed the album slowly, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I wanted to ask my aunt who he was. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. But all I could do was sit there, staring at the closed cover, trying to understand how the man who promised me forever could be hiding a past he never wanted me to discover. And deep down, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't a random surprise. This was the beginning of a truth he never wanted me to find. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing the picture over and over again. The way he stood beside my aunt, the way he smiled at the camera as if he had nothing to hide. I tried convincing myself it was a coincidence, that maybe he was just a guest. Maybe he didn't even know my aunt personally. But my gut wasn't buying any of those excuses. Something felt wrong, terribly wrong. And the more I replayed everything, the clearer it became he never wanted me to find that album. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a knot in my stomach. I picked up my phone and stared at his name. I wanted to ask him directly. I wanted the truth. But instead, I texted something simple. "Can we talk? It's important." He responded immediately, almost too fast. "Of course. What's wrong?" I typed, "Later, I need time." And I did. I needed time to gather the courage to ask the question that was burning inside me. When we finally got on a call that evening, he sounded completely normal. He laughed. He asked about my day. He sounded like the same man I thought I knew. And that made the truth feel even heavier. I couldn't take it anymore. I interrupted him and said, "I saw something today." There was a pause. "What do you mean?" he asked. His voice tightened just slightly, but enough for me to notice. I took a deep breath. "I saw you," I said. "In my aunt's wedding album." Silence, a long, suffocating silence. Then he spoke, too calmly. "Oh, that." My heart dropped, because only guilty people answer like that, as if they already know exactly what you're talking about. I asked, "Why were you there? Why didn't you tell me?" He sighed, a sound that felt rehearsed. "It's complicated. Make it simple." I said. Another pause, another breath, another attempt to shape a lie into something that sounded gentle. I knew your aunt. A long time ago, he finally said. We were friends. That's it. Double quotes friends. Only friends. I wanted to believe him, but the voice in my head screamed that he wasn't telling me everything. If it was really nothing, why hide it? Why avoid it? Why change the subject every time her name came up? I asked him again, why didn't you tell me you knew her? He said, because it wasn't important. But it was important. Everything about the person you love is important, even the parts they tried to bury. I felt my throat tighten. You should have told me, I whispered. You should have said something. He grew irritated. You're overthinking. It was years ago. I forgot. You don't forget being at someone's wedding. You don't forget being in their family album. You don't forget connections that should have been shared with the person you claimed to love. The longer we talked, the more defensive he became, and the more defensive he became, the clearer it was he wasn't telling me the truth. Over the next few days, I watched him closely. His mood shifted. His patience thinned. He avoided long conversations. He asked fewer questions. He called less often. It felt like I was losing him and discovering him at the same time, like the man I loved was fading, and the man he really was slowly coming into focus. Then it happened. My aunt called me unexpectedly one afternoon. She said she wanted to invite me for lunch because she needed to talk. That one sentence made my stomach twist. When I got to her house, she looked nervous, like she had been rehearsing something all morning. She asked me to sit. Then she handed me the same wedding album. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. I noticed you looked shocked yesterday, she said gently. You saw him, didn't you? I nodded slowly. She closed her eyes as if the truth she was about to tell would hurt both of us. He wasn't just a guest, she said. My breath caught. She continued. He was close to our family. Very close. More than I realized. I felt the air leave my lungs. What do you mean? I whispered. My aunt hesitated, then said words that cracked my world open. He used to date someone in our family. Before you. My vision blurred instantly. I felt the room tilt. My aunt kept talking, but her voice sounded distant, like it was coming from underwater. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. My lips trembled. My hands shook. Someone in our family. Someone close. Someone he never told me about. My aunt looked at me with worried eyes. I didn't know you two were together. If I had known, I would have warned you. Warned me about what? Or about who? Suddenly, all the puzzle pieces that never fit began falling into place. His avoidance, his hesitation, his sudden shifts in behavior, his presence in that album, the way he reacted when I mentioned family. And that's when the truth hit me, a truth so sharp it felt like a blade pressed against my chest. He wasn't afraid of my aunt. He was afraid of what she knew about him. Afraid that the past he buried would rise again. Afraid that I would learn the truth before he was ready to lie about it. And in that moment, I realized the man I planned my future with was living in a past I was never supposed to discover. I went home that evening feeling like I was carrying someone else's heart inside my chest, something heavy, something broken, something that didn't belong to me anymore. My aunt's words kept echoing, replaying in my head like a warning I somehow received too late. He dated someone in my family. That one truth turned everything upside down. He wasn't just in a photograph. He was in a history that I never consented to be a part of. I couldn't stop imagining the possibilities. Who was she? How long were they together? Was he still in contact with her? Was everything he told me a recycled lie, something he had once said to her as well? Every thought felt like a punch to my chest. The man I planned to build a future with had already lived parts of that future with someone else. Someone connected to me. Someone he never mentioned. Someone whose memory he buried so deeply that I was never meant to uncover it. That night, he called me. I didn't pick up. I let it ring until the sound became unbearable. Then I silenced it, watching his name fade from the screen. A minute later, he texted, "We need to talk." But I wasn't ready. Not yet. Not when every truth I thought I knew was turning into smoke. The next morning, I finally gathered the courage to ask my aunt the question that burned inside me. Who was she? I whispered. My aunt hesitated, looked at me with a pain I didn't understand. Then she said the name softly, carefully, as if it could hurt me even more. It wasn't a distant cousin. It wasn't someone I barely knew. It was someone who shared blood with me, someone who knew me when I was younger, someone whose absence still left echoes in family conversations. It was my older cousin. The one who passed away. My breath caught in my throat. My heart stopped for a moment. Everything around me blurred. He loved her. He dated her. He was part of her life. And he never told me, not because he forgot, but because telling me would expose the truth he had been running from for years. My aunt's voice shook as she explained. They were serious. They thought about marriage. It ended badly, very badly. We never talked about it again after she passed. I didn't know you were with him. If I had known, her voice broke, I would have told you everything. But he didn't want me to know everything. He didn't want me to know anything. I realized in that moment why he looked familiar before I ever knew him. Why something about him felt like déjà vu. I wasn't falling in love with a new man. I was falling into a story he had lived before, a story he pretended he buried, a story I was never meant to walk into. I confronted him the next day. He came over, nervous, fidgeting, trying to act shocked. I didn't let him speak. I simply asked, "Why didn't you tell me you dated her?" His face turned pale. That reaction told me everything I needed to know. Because it didn't matter anymore, he said. But it mattered to me, I replied. He tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. He looked hurt as if he was the one being betrayed. Don't you understand? He said. That was my past. You are my future. I stared into his eyes and asked, then why did you hide your past from the person you want a future with? He couldn't answer, because there was no answer that wouldn't expose him. He told me he loved me. He told me he didn't want to lose me. He told me he thought hiding it would protect both of us. But lies don't protect love. Lies protect the liar. I realized I wasn't just his future. I was his second chance at a story he failed once. I wasn't chosen. I was replaced. I wasn't special. I was familiar. And I deserved more than being a replacement for someone he couldn't forget. When he reached for me again, I stepped back and said the words I never thought I would say. Your past isn't the problem. The problem is that you buried it and tried to build a future on top of it. He looked shattered. He begged. He cried. But none of it changed the truth. I walked away, not because I didn't love him, but because I finally loved myself enough to let go of a man who came into my life wearing shadows he refused to explain. Days passed, weeks passed. The pain didn't disappear overnight, but slowly I understood something powerful. A future built on secrets will always collapse. A love built on lies will always crumble. And a man who cannot face his past will never be able to stay in your future. Now, when I look back at that wedding photo, I don't feel pain anymore. I feel clarity. Because that album did not destroy my relationship. It saved me from a life with someone whose truth was never mine to carry. And sometimes The universe doesn't break your heart. It reveals the truth you needed to finally set yourself free.